What's up guys, this is ScherBR talking, welcome back to my channel. On today's video, I bring you a full review for the Romancing Festival Ameya banner. That brings Ameya, support, but also okay damage dealer. Bonnie, a full-time damage dealer without any type of support. And Formina, a counter tank that gives a lot of effects to the party. Let's start talking about Ameya. She has very high intelligence, 143, one of the highest ones in the game. 114% will, but only 95 endurance. That could or not be a problem in the future, with just okay agility on 97%. Well, she has 40% damage reduction at all times to herself. Then she also has 30% damage reduction for everyone in the party. Then she gives defense boost, decreasing damage taken 15% for everyone every turn. She can also give 5% defense ups 3 times per battle. That's a lot of different things, right? But she still has something else. Weak defense and resist offense. Those two effects are actually very nice. The first, weak defense, when you land a weak attack, that is, anyone from your party, because she applies to the party, you can activate 2 times the following effects. A defense boost medium that decreases damage taken by 20% lasts for 2 turns and stack. If your character has a chase attack, you can get up to 4 defense boosts just from this passive alone. You're also going to buff your endurance and will by 20%. You can actually buff 40 if your character has any sort of chase attacks. And also recover HP by around 400 twice, or around 800. The thing is, you have to land weak attacks. The enemy has to be weak to your attack, and that is not really all that easy, since sometimes we bring characters like support types in fights because they are just good enough. The damage dealer will be landing weak attacks, but what about the support? Doesn't always need to land weak attacks. So very nice passive, but won't be active all times. On Remembrance fights, it will always be active since the enemy is always weak to all elementals. Then we also have resist offense, and this one is easier to trigger. If you resist an attack from the enemy, you can activate up to 2 times. And that will be an attack boost that improves damage potential by 20%, can trigger 2 times for a total of 40 and stacks for 2 turns. But in this case, you have to attack after the enemy to actually take benefit of 80% total. And then you can also buff your ScherBR dexterity and intelligence by 20%, so offensive status. And again, if you're using a character that attacks after your boss, you can get a lot of buffs, but buffs will stack unless you are fighting a boss that uses some sort of buff break or buff removal. But more importantly, we recover 1 BP. This is very nice because you can get up to 2 from this alone, but Ameya has more to her. She has this skill called Cutie Cat that is support fast. All allies can only be used once till you recharge, and it will grant a defense boost in 1 turn that decreases damage taken by 50%. You can use it on turn 1 so that you actually have a good start. Much like Liz has a good start on turn 1, decreasing damage by a lot. And she will reduce the BP cost by 2 points for 10 turns. That's insane, because now, if you account for the resist part, that you should be getting 2 BP mostly in boss fights that attack multiple times or use AoE, and then 2 BP reduction, you can tell that you're generating 4 BP, and then you're going to make it easy for other characters that have high BP cost to keep using their skills. She's also going to heal with this skill. Now, not really necessary on the start of a fight, for example, but she recharges this every 10 turns. So on turn 10, you can cast it again, and then in that turn, it may be actually useful to heal your party. Besides, there are more stuff. She has a 5 BP per turn, and also starts with 12 BP. Will grant all surviving allies cat power. This is a different type of passive that will activate the following: 50% chance to trigger an attack boost that will improve damage potential by 20% because it's AoE, and also a 50% chance to buff all status of all surviving allies by 10% because it's AoE as well. So, okay, 50% chance to trigger both effects. You have 5 characters in the party. You can say that on average you're gonna get at least 2 triggers. That means 20% status for everyone and 40% attack boost. That's nice. It's offensive, but you can also take benefit from the endurance and will buffs. Not really important. Treat this as an extra. Besides, when she attacks, she chases with White Thunder. That is a single target attack with sun and lightning damage that will also grant all surviving allies an attack boost of 10% for 2 turns and stack. And it can also be used as a command via skill number 1 that costs 2 BP, Sun and Lightning, deep power, but the attack boost will be then 15%, for a total of 25 if you choose to use this attack. But then, look, she has a 50% chance to chase with White Thunder after she chases it with her passive. And that same chase can trigger another one. Much like we have chases with Claudia and also with Aldora. Well, I don't think this is game breaking or anything. It's just interesting if you have other characters that can keep giving you effects when you are attacking without any type of limit. And in that case, we can talk about someone that we just got, and that would be Mirza. Remember Mirza? Well, Mirza gives you some effects for Sun. When landing a Sun attack, you're going to recover 1 BP, you are going to cast a defense boost, and also buff all surviving allies status by 5%. So the more she attacks, the more she recovers BP, gets extra defense boost, and buffs everyone as well. When paired up together, those two units are very nice. But there's more as well. We have Creator, that just got released as well. Creator also have a Sun effect from Green Thumb, and they don't have limit. We recover BP, HP, and grant itself an attack and defense boost. Other Sun specialist is Fire and Press. She also comes well with Ameya, and she will allow Ameya to get 3 points of BP while also applying defense boost for everyone else when using Sun. So actually using all of those characters together, even if you have Minstrel, that would be probably the perfect squad. So you're gonna have every type of support, damage, and sustain when using them all together. But that's not for everyone. You have to be collecting all of these styles. So remember that when using Ameya with those characters, you're going to get even more from the character. There's nothing else. As you can see, she barely has any sort of damage, but this can be fixed by inheritance from her welfare style. There is Enhanced Magic Plus. You're going to cast this, it's fast, and then it will give you 4 turns of magical up that will improve your spell damage by 50% and also enhance sorcery. So the total damage improval will be 250%. And it's just 5 EP, meaning that she can always cast this, and after you reach turn 5, for example, you will be able to do some damage. But how? By use of the skill number 3, Lightning Fortress. It's a fast skill, single target, Sun and Lightning. When the attack lands, has a chance to debuff the intelligence of the enemy by 30%. Well, chance, it's really probably just a guarantee because her intelligence is pretty high. And then it will apply a defense boost of minus 25% damage for 2 turns. So if you have an OPP generation, this is something that you want to use all the time, because she would then generate 9 BP to herself if she gets hit 2 times by resisting, and then you just need extra 3. That would be easy to get if you have someone like Tsuna in the party. Tsuna gives exactly 3, or maybe Leon. And then she can keep casting defense boost, but she already gives a lot of defensive support. Well, Ameya is a sword user, as you can see, not really a staff user. It's strange, but it is what it is. The only problem is that she competes with Tsuna somehow. But Tsuna is in a different banner. So if you decide to pull for Ameya, you may actually have to skip Tsuna. I don't recommend doing so. But they still work super well together, since nothing from each one of them will actually crash. They will just keep their full potentials and just benefiting from each other buffs. But Tsunanori Middle is still a little better because he gives BP, he gives healings, he also generates attack boosts, he will also apply morale down, he can do some good damage right from start, and he is the most important character of these banners. But Ameya is just a little behind that with her very nice support. On global we got 30% damage reduction instead of just 10 from JP. And she got the extra chase that can actually be pretty interesting depending on the squad composition. There's nothing else to say. I believe that she is a really good character. I am planning to skip her just because there is a future version of Katarina that also has the same resist offense and weak defense passive. This is something that we had with Katarina, and it will appear yet again. The character is still very useful, especially for new players. She is definitely a 5 out of 5 in global. Let's move on to the next character. It's Bonnie, and Bonnie has 142% agility, a very, very high number, and 120% SGR, alongside 100% endurance and will. That should be a little higher since she can also be a tank if you choose to inherit one of her skills. And then she has a 40% damage increase at all times, and then when attacked, damage decreases by 40. Starts a fight with 12 to use her best skills, but then she has intrinsic 5 that improves her damage again by 30%. If she gets hit by resisted attacks, she will then decrease damage taken by 40 and has a 37% chance to evade said attack. On the start of a turn, she buffs her SGR and agility by 25% and also grants heat up of 20%, meaning that she can reach 100% damage increase on turn 5 and beyond. Now, she does have some other types of attacks, and the guaranteed chase she has is UniverSe Plus. It's a single target attack, blunt damage, that will buff break the enemy always and can try to apply stun. Stun is for road blocker if you need help there. The attack is good enough, but the buff break part can be very interesting, especially if you skip it on Minstrel, because in many fights you have to buff break the enemy every single turn, and then you can use this without having to spend any sort of BP. But then, let's look on her skill number 2, Dragonclad Palm Strike. This is a blunt attack that can only be used 8 times per battle, so she was designed to fight in fights that can be finished in around 8 turns. And before she attacks, she's gonna grant herself an extra force medium that will improve damage versus weak by 50%, and then an extra force for blunt that improves blunt damage by 25%. That means that her final damage output will be improved by 75% if you're using a blunt attack versus an enemy that is weak to blunt. That's pretty nice. Sadly, she is mostly just blunt damage anyway. And then she also self-casts a defense boost that decreases damage taken by 25% for 2 turns. It helps her a little, but it's maybe not enough to protect her versus some very big fights if she is chosen as your tank. But more about that later. Okay, we have all of those effects, and when she uses skill number 2, she's still gonna trigger something. That is Shenlong Fire Fist 2 times. That is a 4S power attack that it's blunt based, but it would then be buffed by 75%, and she is still gonna chase with UniverSe Plus. So you have 4 attacks just by using skill number 2, and all of them will be improved by 75%. The first hit's not that strong, it's just S power, but the remaining ones will do a lot of damage, especially in fights where the enemies keep getting some defense boosts. We had this on Spyro, for example. So in very specific fights, it's better to use big hits instead of using multi-hit attacks, although the future is different. In future challenges, mostly you want to apply defense down to the enemy with weak point focus, where the more you attack, the less defense the enemy you have, and then multi-hit attacks are usually better on the future. But anyway, this is a very powerful attack that can be used. Also, when landing attacks, she buffs SGR and agility as well, but by 15%, and also casts an attack boost that will improve her damage potential by 20%, lasts for 5 turns, and will stack multiple times because she can attack like 4 times. And then her SGR and agility buffs will be high, and then she recovers BP. That is because she wants to keep using Dragonclad Palm Strike. And just do the math. You are going to attack 4 times plus 3 BP every turn. You always have enough BP to use this skill whenever you want. Although you have 2 other options as well. Lightning Assault Kick is a single target blunt and lightning attack that also grants an extra force blunt, but in this case it's medium. Well, it's higher than the one that you get from Dragonclad Palm Strike. And then this one, it's not before attacking, so I don't really like this. It's only after you had used all of your Dragonclad Palm Strike, and maybe you have to go for 10 turns, I don't know. But it won't be a very good thing to keep using after turn 15 or something, since it's costly, and for the future you have stronger damage dealers anyway. So Bonnie is straight out just damage. I do believe that she competes a little bit with the Antarg. Antarg is a very strong, heavy attacker that does have lower status. You can see only 125% SGR in agility, but he does have some very interesting tricks. He will then apply this Forging Fist to the party. When using blunt attacks, they get 4 BP. That really helps some characters be better, much like Rio Queen, for example, and then grants oneself and one random surviving ally 25 points off OG Gouge. That allows the Antarg to keep reaching overdrive faster, and on overdrive he chases with Scuffle Plus. That is an attack that he already improves the heat up exclusive to this skill that triggers 10 times per battle. So the skill gets a 500% damage improvement just by passives. The target can also be used together with Bonnie if you can afford to use it, but it will be hard since sometimes we have characters that need to bring support or else it's hard to slot them. But Bonnie can speed up some fights because her damage is pretty high, but she's just blunt based when using her best setup. While some other damage dealers do have multiple elementals, at least 2 different ones, like even Cygnus and like even Hihachi Creator and many other ones. So I do believe it's hard to justify choosing Bonnie over other cards that can bring some type of support. But then again, depends on the speed of the fight. Like I said, she can also be used for counter if you choose her inheritance. Synchro Step. This is support that will give her extra BP when using blunt attacks, and then also an attack boost of 30% in this case, lasts for 2 turns and stack, and will even stack multiple times. She already gets 20, so every time now you use a blunt attack will be 50%, and then she enters a defensive counter stance that when being directly attacked, she will then decrease damage taken and counter attack with Thunder Kick Plus. In this case, Thunder Kick Plus can reach level 99 and will do a lot of damage, especially because the more she counters, she will then get stronger and stronger. But Bonnie as a counter unit suffers a little from not having enough endurance and will. And then again, she will still at least get a lot of defense boosts, as you can see from the use of the second skill, Dragon Cloud Palm Strike. But maybe she would be inflicted with ailments with higher chances with just 100% if she's too focused, and she lacks taunt if you really want to take advantage of the counter mechanic. But anyway, Bonnie is a pretty strong character if you just talk about damage, but sadly I do believe she needed either double elemental or some type of party support. It's simply the easiest one to skip, but if you get her, I'm sure you're gonna use her a lot if the enemy is weak to blunt. She also makes all ReUniverSe fights much faster because of her raw potential. Well, looking in the past, she beats a lot of our damage dealers, but looking into the future, I think she only deserves a 4 out of 5. The last one will be Formina, and she is a counter tank with a lot of good effects and status. 130% endurance and will, as you can see, much better than Bonnie. 125% dexterity, but she can self-buff a lot. And 102% agility, that really doesn't matter for a counter tank. Moving on. When attacked, damage will be reduced by 40% at all times, and then she decreases by another 40 if she resists. 37% chance to evade reset attacks, alongside a 30% damage increase at all times. She starts the turn with 2 extra BP, so 5 BP per turn. She will also give Heat Up Medium, that increases damage potential by 10% for the whole fight, 5 times per battle, for everyone in the party, alongside an attack boost every turn, so she actually gives 65% damage increase starting from turn 5 onwards. Now, on the start of a turn, she enters a taunt stance that is medium effect and lasts for 4 turns, and then puts all other surviving allies into stealth. Okay, so this is actually much better than you think, because this is a type of passive that started with a counter version of Julian, and it was already insanely good. Julian had it, and his version was called Formal Stance, and both effects were just small, and it was already very good to keep Julian being attacked from turn 2 onwards. But what they did for global was to extend that to 4 turns, meaning that Formina taunt reaches much higher potential alongside stealth as well. I believe from turn 4 onwards, Formina can actually be used in any formation of the game and still be hit all the time. I'll say for the chances that the enemy still attacks some others, because I don't think you can reach 100% chance of being attacked. The game still probably has a safe value. But anyway, it's really good. Now, when she's attacked, she'll grant all surviving allies a defense boost that will decrease damage taken by 10%, but only for that turn. And that is actually very nice. It's kind of like how Joe worked it in the past, but also competes a little with Jiva number 5, unless they are in the same squad and they will be providing both effects. Jiva gives a medium defense boost when she is hit. That means 15% instead of 10%. She also buffs endurance, will, love, and charisma when she is hit. There are other characters as well that also buffs stuff when they are hit. Faye is a little more offensive, but she's not really a counter. And then we also have the latest Vagnus that can also give you defense boost when he is hit. In his case, the defense boost is the same, 10% only. So it's still great because Wagner is one of the best tanks in the game. Now, when she lands an attack, she gets an attack boost of 20% for 2 turns that can stack, and a defense boost that decreases damage taken by 20%, 2 turns and stack. Will also self-buff endurance, will, and specially dexterity by 20%. And she's going to attack multiple times because of the way she was designed. And also when she lands an attack, she's going to buff all other surviving allies, SGR, dexterity, agility, and intelligence by 20%. But sadly, you don't get defensive buffs from this. Formina is much more of offensive type of character. You have to bring other supports to improve your party. But then there is also other characters that can also work super well. Like, for example, the latest Cordelia. Cordelia gives you chance for counter. That will give you a 30% attack boost when you are hit. It also buffs endurance, will, love, and charisma by 20% alongside 5 points of OG Gauge. That's not just that. I have to say that you can also work well with Jiva. And I do believe that's why they made Formina taunt better, because Jiva also taunts. But Jiva is large for 4 turns. I believe that although they will still be competing for the enemy attack, Formina chances will still be much higher. And Jiva will be buffing endurance, will, love, and charisma for everyone else's. So think about that when bringing Formina to your party. But in some fights, buffing endurance and will is not really necessary, so there's that. Moving on, we have skill number 1, called Bullet Shot. That is a single target B power attack that gives 15 points of OG Gauge for the party. But then we have to actually use the 2 other skills. But before we do that, let's talk about the inheritance first. You have to bring Synchro Step F, and its support. When attacking with blunt attacks, she would then self-recover HP by around 400. That's super important because if you want to bring Formina to solo a stage, she needs to heal or else she's gonna die. You can also bring that from external sources that can apply enough turn healings, but having this herself means that she needs 0 support. She will also be buffing endurance, will, love, and charisma by 15%. Well, we already have endurance and will buffs when landing attacks, so that means that you can buff actually 35% and she will be safe from most enemies. And then when she is attacked, she will then buff attack boost, in this case just 10%, lasts for 2 turns and stack, but also buff her own SGR, dexterity, agility, and intelligence, especially dexterity, because the other ones don't really matter. That will improve her damage, and she has 2 ways of doing that. Via status buff. If you can keep your buffs in a fight, Formina is going to do very, very good damage. And how? Let's talk about her 2 different skills. We have offensive and defensive snipes. Both only cost 7 VP. It will be easy to use. Both are fast, both are single targets, and both have only 8 powers, much like you are using a normal attack to draw the enemy's attention. And then you can choose a bullet. Well, for the offensive bullets, if you are hit, you're going to counter first with a deep power attack that will then give her another counter stance and an attack boost of 30% for that turn only. So if she gets hit again, she will then counter once more with deep power, but then the second time with Bullet Shot. That is a B power attack that will then give 10 points of OG Gauge for everyone. And if she gets hit again, the next counter will be 3 hits and then 4 hits and so on. She scales based on number of the enemy attacks, but the first counter is just 1 hit. The defensive part's the same mechanic, but you are trading the attack boost for a defense boost that will decrease damage taken, in her case, by 35%, only for that turn as well. And Bullet Shot's the same skill. That will then counter on the second time she gets hit and give 10 points of OG Gauge for everyone. So the more she gets hit, the more she will give the additional effects, either offensive or defensive. I suggest you to go with the offensive bullet like 90% of the time, unless the boss has some special mechanic where it will start doing more and more damage, because she already has the defense boost when she's attacked. That is applied to everyone. and she already has 40% damage reduction alongside the other 40% when resisting, alongside the damage reduction from the counter stance as well. Formina is gonna do a lot of damage, and she can solo content without help of anyone. But she also benefits a ton from characters, like I said. The Cordelia will also help in this setup because she will give you extra attack boosts and overdrive. But you also benefit from other characters, much like Gustave, since he's going to decrease spell damage if the enemy uses multiple types of attack. You're also gonna benefit from using her together with Tsuna. But you may sometimes not want to bring Diva, because Diva can also draw enemy attacks. Sugunas is another good combo, because Sugunas gives defense up for many people that decreases damage taken by 20% for the whole fight. So, plenty of good companions to use with her. But if you really want, like for example, Spiral Corridor 310, he can solo for you. And yeah, the best type of companion if you want to solo is the latest Volcon, because he gives you OG charge and lots of buffs to improve the damage of your character. Anyway, I do believe that she competes with Vagnus, because Vagnus also gives defense boost when she's hit. She can counter up to 4 times, depending on enemy behavior. If the enemy attack you like once or twice only, Vagnus can sometimes be better. And they also have different types of element. In the case of Vagnus, he deals pierce and heat damage. There's also Emperor, a very good counter tank, but in the case of him, you're gonna need a lot of EP generation, and he counters with slash damage. Formina attacks with indirect, sometimes it's even better. And her bullets are blunt based, so there was less competition. She competes with Bonnie if Bonnie is your counter. But like I said, Formina taunt is the best one in the game. You don't want to use Bonnie if you get Formina. For me, the most impactful thing about Formina is that she's a good team player. She doesn't really need to be the only one that survives the whole fight, because she gives defense boost for everyone. Although she does not buff endurance heal for everyone, she still draws so many enemy attacks that they will probably survive better. And by giving OG points to everyone, just note that it's 10 points by bullet. If you get many counters, you can actually feel OG gauge of everyone, especially if you are using the over accelerate formation. And Formina can use that formation and still counter and draw enemy attacks easily. At the end of the day, she is really great. I cannot say anything else. I think she deserves a 5 out of 5 as probably the best counter tank in the game right now, but still sharing the top with Vagnus and Emperor. Anyway, this is the end, and going back to the banner image, is this banner worth summoning for? Yes, I have to say. Not as good as Tsuna banner, because Tsuna banner is still the best one. All 3 characters have a 5 out of 5, and Tsuna is the best one of the 6 characters, and Diva and Tsunas are still very nice. And in this banner here, Bonnie decreases the banner value because she doesn't have a very good future, since you're gonna get other damage dealers with added support that will matter more than Bonnie. And if you want to bring a full SaGa Emerald beyond the squad, she's the one that you will be removing. Now, if you want to get Ameya, because she gives you even more defenses, she will be useful in many fights. She may actually be replaced by Lolo later, because you bring 2 defensive supports, but sometimes you may even need 3. But even then, she will be helpful depending on the fights. And Formina is amazing. Like I said, both are 5s, with Bonnie being only a 4, but if you have enough gens and you wanted to pull for the protagonist, it's pretty safe to do so. I had to summon only on Tsuna banner because I don't have too many gens, and I recommend you doing the same if you don't. This banner will be receiving a Gold Minus award. I changed my mind because the buffs made to Ameya and Formina were actually pretty good in global, and they will stay even better here for us in the foreseeable future. But that's only my opinion. What is yours? Say here in the comment section. Thank you so much for watching this. Please subscribe if you haven't, and I see you soon in the next video or live stream. Goodbye.